Are you thinking of renting a furnace or an air conditioner or a heat pump? I'm going to be dropping 14 truth bombs that you're going to want to see, and by the end of this, you're never going to want to rent a furnace or an air conditioner ever again. I'm JC, the HVAC veteran, and we're kicking off a 3-part series that I believe that every single homeowner in Ontario is going to want to see. So stay tuned. Someone recently tried to convince me that the way of the future is through the whole rental HVAC programs. And absolutely, this person, I do not believe them. I don't believe that that's where we're going. I believe a lot of people are jumping on it. A lot of companies are, but I think they're doing it by mistake. I think they're going to quickly realize that this is definitely not the way to go. There's a lot of talk in the industry, and once more professionals such as myself, technicians, realtors, lawyers, and basically all the homeowners that are coming forward telling of their horror stories of what happened to them while they're going through the whole rental process. I think all that combined eventually is going to put a stop to a lot of this whole rental industry. And just so you know, the rental market of the HVAC is nowhere else in the entire world. I don't want to say that us Canadians are not smart enough to know better, but why is Ontario the only place in the entire world? And actually, Ontario is the only place that actually rents furnaces or air conditioning systems in all of Canada. So if you're thinking about renting a furnace or an air conditioner, or even worse, you're locked into a rental contract right now, this series can save you literally thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. I'm pulling back the curtain of what really happens in the rental market. I know the rental market inside and out for the last 20 plus years. I've seen all the different companies. I've seen many different contracts that homeowners have provided for me so I can review them. And let's just say none of them are in the best interest of the homeowner. So this is a part 1 of 3 where we're going to be going through the first 5 reasons why you shouldn't rent a furnace or an air conditioner or an HVAC system, and the reasons why a lot of homeowners that have eventually had regrets. So number 1, you end up paying a lot more than what the actual system's worth. In most cases, you're paying 2 times, 3 times, 4 times what the system's actually worth, and even more in some cases. For example, an $8,000 system could easily end up costing you $16,000 to $20,000. A $13,000 system could easily cost you $40,000 to $45,000, and that's what's guaranteed pretty much that you'll be paying. What it doesn't tell you is all the increases that could happen that could substantially increase even that number to a much higher number. Number 2, you're locked into long-term contracts, leading to expensive buyouts in a lot of cases. Early buyouts are not prorated, and they can be shockingly high when it comes time for you to make that decision to want to buy it out. Many contracts are between 12 to 15 years. And because of that, being 12 to 15 years, the amortization periods are so long that in the first 7 to 10 years, you're not making actually any payments at all towards the furnace or the air conditioner or whatever you're renting. You actually don't own the rental during the whole period, but you're not making any payments towards that, which means you can pay what the whole system would have been worth at the time you bought it, maybe let's say 6, 7 years, but you keep paying. And if you want to get out of the contract at the 6 or 7 year, even the 10-year mark, and you might think that, I've made all these payments, so therefore I have paid off this system. No, you haven't really done much payments at all. And what the buyout will be is still quite substantially high to get out of the contract. So the actual payments that you make every single month for the first 7 to 10 years don't really go too much towards, like, let's say, the principal of the unit. It isn't until after about the 10 to 11 to 12 year mark that the actual money that you're paying finally starts going towards the breakdown of that unit, so that maybe in the last 2 to 3 years you might only have like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 left of that payment, but it's still, you're buying out at that amount. If you calculate all those costs that you already did over those 7 to 10 years or whatever it is, you're going to realize that you just paid a fortune, and you still have to pay thousands of dollars to get out of the contract. So even though this is a massive cash cow for these companies, the salespeople, who I'm going to repeat very often, if they're trying to rent you a furnace, as much as they may claim to want to be your friend, and they're not really your friend. So as much as these salespeople are going to tell you that, oh yeah, don't worry, ma'am, you can get out of this contract whenever you want. It's only going to be this, this, and this. Well, if you read the fine print, you're going to find that there's a lot more to it than just that. And in a lot of cases, they know it. You got to look behind the curtain when you're making your purchase of why people are doing the things that they're doing. So if a salesperson, which I know in this industry, when you are a salesperson, you have the option to rent a furnace or you have an option to sell a furnace to a customer. Well, that rental is going to make that company a fortune compared to vice versa. So that company generally rewards that salesperson substantial amounts of extra money on top of the commissions or whatever it is in order to rent that furnace. So that's generally what happens. And so let me ask you a question. If that was the case, what do you think most salespeople are going to do if they're not looking out for your best interest? They're going to sell you that rental agreement and make it come with a lot of unicorns and roses and whatever else to make it sound like it's an amazing deal and how you're going to want to go ahead with it. But always look behind the curtain. Number 3, you're making payments on that you actually don't even own. So this is a thing that a lot of homeowners have said when they've called these companies to either get out of the contract or ask why they're having to pay such a ludicrous amount of money to get out of the contracts or whatever. Sorry, the answer is always that, ma'am, you don't own the actual equipment, you're renting it. So in a lot of cases, you don't ever own that equipment, even after 10 years, 12, 13 years. Now, at the end of the contract, sometimes you may own it, but that's at the end of the contract with some sort of a buyout. So keep that in mind because there's always going to be a lien on the equipment. And a lot of these companies used to put a lien on your house, which was a disaster for a lot of homeowners. And those companies ought to be ashamed of themselves, but that's what they were doing. So now there's new laws because of the uproar that had happened and all the problems. And let's just say it wasn't really a good practice by those companies doing that. And if they could be doing it still today, they would be, because they absolutely made a fortune when it came to selling your house, and they got whatever they wanted, basically. And in a lot of cases, it was ridiculous amounts of money for what they actually installed. Which brings me to the next point 4, which is it does make it difficult to sell your home. Most realtors and most lawyers now understand that renting HVAC is not very good for the buyers. So I'm sure the seller's lawyers is just praying that the buyer's lawyers don't see it in the contract or kind of, give some misrepresentation to their clients. But the reality is most people and lawyers are starting to educate their customers, and they will force you to buy out that contract at the time of the sale of the house. So keep that in mind. Buyers don't want to rent furnaces and air conditioning units. They don't want to buy a house where they have to keep paying $100 or $200 or $250 or whatever the cost is per month. They don't want that. It's not as much as the salespeople for rentals will tell you that they do. They don't. I know this is true, and I see it a lot on the internet. I'm going to be posting something soon with a ton of information that can back up everything I say via the internet. And number 5, the payments just don't end. They keep going on and on and on until the contract is over. And there's no way of getting out of them unless you buy out the contract and you close it off. So I know a lot of people are going to be looking at my video and they're going to be saying, you know what, I better take a look at what I just signed or what I signed a year ago or 2 years ago. So I'd imagine that even a bunch of companies are going to start getting some phone calls after these videos about their customers questioning what they signed. So if you're a company out there that's renting and have been renting for a long time, get ready for it. And for any company out there, like ones that have been doing it for a long time, I doubt you're going to change, but there's a lot of companies that are kind of thinking, okay, well, maybe is this the way to go? Ask yourselves, is it really the way to go? Do you really want to be having your customers onto a program like this? Don't you think that maybe, just maybe, that your customers are going to start to complain and be upset with what they sign when they realize what it is that they've been signed into? Think about that down the road. How do you want happy customers now and forever? Or do you want happy customers now, but once they find out they might feel like they've been bamboozled by you? What do you think is going to happen? And that's just the beginning. And it's going to get a lot worse, because in part 2, I'm going to share with you what most companies won't tell you, like how they hide the interest inside their monthly payments. and why it's almost impossible to get out once you've signed. So make sure you don't forget to hit the like button and follow me so you don't miss that video. Stay tuned.